whole island was nothing but donkeys, like wild donkeys. Like they used to have a salt trade there. And once the salt trade stopped, because they had salt lakes or whatever, or not the salt ponds, wherever you get salt from, they just decided to let these donkeys run wild. And they were literally to the point where there's almost more donkeys than there is native people that live there. So, like, every corner you go to, like, just driving down the street, there's just, like, donkeys everywhere.
Welcome to the Where Have You Been podcast. I'm your host, Bill Ream, and each week on the pod, I have conversations with incredible guests from all walks of life. Expect to hear funny, crazy, emotional, life-changing, and even sometimes life-threatening stories and experiences that will entertain and inspire you. As always, I appreciate your likes, subscriptions, ratings, and reviews wherever you are listening. It doesn't sound like much, but it truly helps the pod get to the ears of more people who may enjoy it. And check out the website, whybpodcast.com, for links to the socials where you can find pictures from the guests and their stories, and also buy merch if you're so inclined. Now let's get to this week's episode. Thank you for being here. Welcome back to the Where Have You Been podcast. As always, I am your host, Bill Ream, and I have another, can you believe it, that I have another incredible guest? We have a unique guest this time. I think what I would say is I have a content creator and adventure traveler. I have Dustin on the show this week. And as I like to do, first of all, thank you for being here, Dustin. And I like
for having me.
Absolutely. And I like to have my guests introduce themselves because you know yourself better than I do. And so with that said, Dustin, who are you?
Well, I'm Dustin Tichenor, and really, I'm just a warehouse worker. Like, I've worked in a warehouse for over 25 years. I'm a father. I got 2 kids. I'm a husband. I got a wife, and I'm just trying something new. Like, after being in the warehouse so long, it's like, well, let's just try something different. Let's just try something. And we travel, and so I've just been putting it up. And content creator is a little weird to say because I've, again, just been a warehouse worker and whatever. So this is just kind of new, but I'm just a guy trying to figure it out, just trying to see what's next. The kids are older, and I'm just seeing what we can do with the rest of this life that we have.
I think it's awesome. And so first of all, what is it that you're doing? So you said like you're uploading some content. So kind of what made you decide to do that, and like how and where are you doing that?
I mean, I've always felt like there was something better than just warehouses, but you know, you get a family, you get wives, or you get wives, you get a wife, you get kids, and like how we were raised, you know, being older, like it's work, 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 work. And we're kind of getting to the point where, you know, 20, 25 years in a warehouse, you want to do something else. I mean, you've always wanted to do something else, but now you're kind of to the point where you can do something else. So as we've gotten older, and the kids have gotten older, and we've kind of gotten better off in life, we've been traveling, doing a lot of cruises, and we're trying to see all 50 states. So I've just been kind of documenting it, writing down what we see, trying to do blogs. So my website is the CWGT, the Can We Go There, CWGT.com, the CWGT.com. And it's just me sharing blog posts. I do videos on YouTube of just the places we've been. They're only about 8 or 10 minutes long, nothing real long. And I'm just trying to share the information and the stuff that we've seen and the stuff we've been through, me and my family, of these places we've gone to. So I just figured it's a good resource, you know, families who are just coming up, just trying to figure out what to do with their family. You know, economy's rough, economy can be tough. Maybe you just don't make that much. And I try to show that even if it's just a weekend trip or it's just a couple hours away, or you got a little bit of time, and granted, we haven't gotten to all 50 states yet, but maybe it's like, hey, we have this weekend. What can we do in this state that's a couple hours away? I just try to start putting that up and show people, you know, making memories over destinations and just seeing what's possible out there.
I think it's cool because there are definitely sites out there and channels out there that put out content specifically geared towards families, but maybe it's because a lot of what I've been looking at in the recent past has been more solo or couples travel. And so maybe that's why I haven't stumbled upon it, but I do feel like there is a segment of that that's missing. And so being able to see that, I think there is absolutely a place out there for that, for the families that are working your 9 to 5s or your whatever it is, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but you still want to be able to do something fulfilling, take the family somewhere different, get out of your town and just explore and see what's really out there. And I think it's fantastic that you're doing it. And I hope that you continue to do that. Yeah, I think it's great.
I mean, right now that's kind of the mission, is just like showing families family stuff. Now, I mean, my kids are now, my daughter's 18 and going to college and my son is 15, but I still feel like there's a lot of stuff, like some of the trips we've done in the past, but also just stuff in the future. Like, even as an adult, when I was taking the kids, like, I love going to the Children's Museum and just seeing what they have there, going to regular museums. Not everything has to be like luxury travel. We enjoy our time going to see the small stuff, and I think a lot of the times that goes by the wayside because everybody thinks they have to go to a Disney or somewhere big or somewhere extravagant. I think, society's kinda got you, and commercials have kinda got you in that mindset of, well, if it isn't Disney, which granted, we love Disney, don't get me wrong, but if it's not something really big, then it's not really worth the time. And,
Or that it's not really travel, which is not true. I mean, travel is what you make of it.
yes, I'm a firm believer that, like, if you wanna go to Disney World and have a terrible time, you're going to have a terrible time. If you wanna go see the roadside attraction or the place that's 2 hours away and you're going to have a great time and you're determined to, or not even determined to, just have the mindset of, "Hey, we're gonna go have a good time," you're going to have a good time. You're going to make those memories with your family. You're going to make those memories with your spouse. So, it's a lot of just trying to get the head space or the mindset of even vacations. Like, I try to make them more adventurous. We try to make them more exploratory, more of like, let's go see, let's go experience instead of just going and setting. That's kind of our mindset. I'm not a big going on vacation and just laying at the beach. That's not what I do. And even if we have to go, but there's not a lot of money we can spend. Okay, well, if we are going to the beach, well, let's just look at all the shops that are around there. Let's see what's here. Let's see what's there. Like, let's go and explore. It's kind of one of my big things.
Yeah, it's something we've brought up multiple times on the podcast. Not terribly often, so I don't mind saying it again. But one of the things that I've had some guests say it to me as well. But I am of the mindset of there is a difference between vacationing and traveling, and there is nothing wrong with either one of them. If you want to go on a vacation and just relax and just clear your mind and not really do anything and just get out of the cold weather or get to a beach or like whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. I tend to lean towards 95% of my travel is truly traveling and exploring, getting to know who the locals are, understanding the cuisines, checking out history of the city or the town that we're in, checking out. I'm not a super religious person. I do believe in God for what that's worth. I love churches and cathedrals, even though I'm not necessarily practicing. I just love the architecture and like seeing all of that kind of stuff and some of it puts you really in awe of like, somebody created this, and some of these things are hundreds and thousands of years old, and how did they even do that? And like, I don't know, that's the kind of stuff that gets me jazzed about travel. And like I said, vacations are cool. I do enjoy them when I do it, but that's few and far between that I'm just going on vacation.
And that's more of our thing, is we do a lot of travel. Like, again, we want to see all 50 states, but like, the United States is so big. There's so much to see that most people don't even get to see or realize. Like, and it can be close. It can be just a couple hours away. And like, I've realized with like our kids and stuff that they don't care how far away it is. They don't care if it costs $30 to get in or it's free to get in. Kids have this way of they want the experience. And that's kind of what I've learned. And that's kind of what I go for now. And my wife goes for is like, we want the experience. Whether the experience costs you $60 to get in or it costs you nothing to get in. I want to see stuff. Kids want to see stuff. Families want to see stuff. Like, let's go and see this whole big country or this whole big planet that we're on. Like, there's so much to go see. And some people just wanna go on vacations, and I got you, but we're more like, yeah, we're more one of who families that wanna travel. We wanna show you cool places to travel and cool places for your family to travel and cool places to go experience and see and just have fun and make like, one of our big things is making memories over destinations. Like, I've had some of the best family times in places that people would have never thought of going to. But that's what this life and this stuff is about, is having those memories and making that time while you can with your family and friends.
I love it. That's another thing I wanted to touch on with what you are doing specifically is you're not focusing on hey, we live in Indianapolis, let's make sure that we get to, I don't know, Chicago, Minneapolis, I don't know what else is like within a decent range from you. Like, you're not necessarily saying we have to get to the big cities because that's where everybody goes. You're saying, well, there's this really cool thing or this really cool town that I read about that's, like you said, maybe it's a couple of hours away, but maybe it has something that is touristy, but that does not necessarily mean that it's like a big, huge draw that's going to be packed when you get there. So I love that you're doing that and you're kind of bringing awareness and attention to some of these like smaller things and not just the big cities and the places that everybody's already got on their radar. So very, very cool. Do you have other socials besides YouTube and the website itself?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Everything's under Can We Go There? I'm on Facebook. We're on YouTube. I just started Pinterest. Can We Go There? I'm learning all this. Like, and we have the website. Like, I'm 45. I didn't know how to do. I mean, obviously I knew Facebook and some of the other stuff, but like I've never done Pinterest. I've never made a website. So I think that's part of it, is just me learning, and I think that's the cool part. Kind of cool part of the story is that, like, again, like, yes, I grew up with computers. I know how to use computers. I'm technologically sound, but to build a website, I knew how to make video, but to kind of put all this together and just start kind of linking it together while still I work every day, 8 to 9 hours a day. We've started doing DoorDash too in the evening. So I'm working my regular job and we're doing DoorDash because we want to get more stuff paid off, because we want to go see more. We want to go do more. And unfortunately, like, we're in debt like everybody else. So we're out, like, tomorrow night I'm going to be door dashing after work. The next 5 or 6 days, me and my wife have already made plans. Like, we're door dashing every day after work. We're gonna come home, door dash, and then come home and go to bed. But it's so I'm still in that struggle. That's why we enjoy our trip so much. I feel like I'm born and raised in Indianapolis. We've seen so much around here that we want to go see and explore. We started low. We started, like, with nothing. And now that we have a little bit, we want to just see what's out there. We want to see the whole world. We want to take the kids when we can to go see the whole world or locations and stuff. And I think it gives you it opens your mind. It opens yourself to realizing so much of what other people have to go through. And I'm sure later we'll go through some of the countries we've been to, and even if it's just on cruises and stuff, it really gives you perspectives that, like, you don't get not going anywhere. And I really want to just give that perspective out and give that information out of what we see and what we've gone through, what we've seen.
No, I get it, and that's awesome. And I think one of the things that we haven't really ever touched on this podcast, but I think is something that is worth mentioning, is if you want to have it happen, if you want to experience travel, no matter where it is, don't wait. If yes, you may have some debt. I mean, I have debt. Most people that I know have some form of debt.
We all do.
But that doesn't mean that you can't set money aside. Keep your bills paid, but set some money aside and take that trip. Don't wait, because first of all, we don't know if we have tomorrow. I'm not trying to be all philosophical, but you don't know if we have tomorrow. And second of all, the older we get, the harder it is to travel. That's just the way it is. And so I've mentioned on the podcast as well, like, I got started very late in life. I got started in really traveling the world when I was 40, and now I'm 50. And I've been blessed to be as many places as I have, and I still have so much more that I want to get to, but it is never too late to start. But don't wait.
And I think that's kind of what this is. I waited so long to start doing stuff, and yes, part of it was because we had kids, and part of it was because we were doing stuff. But at 45, don't wait to if you feel like there's a website you need to do, like do a website. Like I'm trying to show people we can still do stuff, and there's so much more to do. And like you have to take the first step. You
Us,
can't.
us elderly people can still learn. We
Yeah.
can teach old dogs new
Hey,
tricks.
listen, I know maybe in 5 years it'll take over the world and I'm gonna hate it, but me and ChatGPT have set so many nights and like to get a website up and going, like I'll set it, I'll take the picture and I'll be like, this is where I'm at on what I'm doing. And it'll give me 15 steps, 10 steps, and I'll do about 4 of them and be like, okay, now I'm here. Take the picture of where I'm at, and it gives me more steps. And hey, look, I've put in there. Explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old and I don't know what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing. And it gives me step by step. And I really want people to realize that if like there's a dream that you have, if there's something you want to pursue, you have to pursue it more than just wishing and hoping and thinking that you can do it. And again, it took me forever. It's taken me forever to realize this. And now I'm at that point where it's either I pursue or really there's then you don't, and then you just sit and wonder, what if I did this? What if I did that? Like, it'd been nice. I sit here now since I've just started. What if I would have started this 5 years ago? But the what ifs kind of eat you up to the point where you're like, it almost makes you an excuse for everything. Well, I should have done it 5 years ago. Man, I should have done it freaking 3 years ago. No, what you should have done is now. You can't help
Yeah.
you didn't do it 5 years ago. You can't help you didn't do it 3 years ago. But you can help if you didn't do it now.
No, absolutely. Yeah, take that energy, shift it around, and put it into the good. Let me ask you this, Dustin. It's the last question I ask before we get to like the main part of the podcast episode
Okay.
itself, which is how did travel become a thing in your life? Did you travel as a child? Did your family travel with you? Or when did that really become a thing? And when did it become, if you can also add in, if there is a moment where you went like, aha, I have to do this. Like, it's not just, yeah, it's nice. I really have to do this.
We didn't travel much when I was a kid. I mean, I'm a single kid. I was raised with my mom and my grandma. I've never known my dad. So like my mom would work like 12 to 16-hour days. My grandma worked a lot. You don't ever think something like this is kind of possible. My grandma did. She did travel. My grandma traveled, and I think that's where I got it from because she was at the age. She didn't have a husband, and when she traveled, she would get on. Back then, it was AAA, which I know now it's more of an insurance and more of like a company where we got your back when you're on the road. But back when I was a kid, AAA is where you would also go to plan trips. So she would go and plan trips, and I remember her bringing stuff back from. She went and seen Hawaii. She went and seen Europe, and she seen a couple of these places, and it was so amazing to me that like there's so much out there, And then you get older, and then you have everything that comes with life. But about 4 or 5 years ago, we really started getting to the point where we could travel. And I think there's just so much you can learn from going to other places. Even if it's just a couple hours away, you living in a big city and then going to a small town or living in a small town and going to a big city. There's so many perspectives that you don't get staying just where you're at. And perspectives you don't get just because you see whatever's on your algorithm of TikTok or social media or whatever. Going there and actually experiencing stuff for yourself and then seeing how much the kids loved it and seeing how much we loved it and just kind of growing in the seeing the world, like it really made me realize like travel is, I mean, I've always wanted to do it, but the more we've kind of do it, I mean, it's almost like a drug, It's like that thing where it's like you
Yes.
start small, but then the bigger you get, even the bigger and the bigger, and even if it's just local, the more places you get to see, the more people you get to meet, the more you see that's not just where you're at, the more you can appreciate where everybody else is at.
Very, very well said, my friend. Very, very well said. I love it. Makes a lot of sense. And I wondered if you were going to mention, like, did the kids, do their eyes light up when they see something cool or whatever? And I imagine that happened somewhat for you guys as well. So let's do this. Let's jump into the meat and potatoes of what we do here on the podcast, which is for me to ask you the question, which is, Dustin, where have you been?
I mean, we have been all over. We have gone to Disney, we've gone to the Bahamas, and we do a lot of cruises. We've been to the Bahamas and Honduras and Mexico and all the big places, Grand Turk and Dominican Republic. But we've also been, here we've gone to Florida, we've gone to Michigan, we've gone to Ohio and Illinois, we've been to Tennessee, we've been to Georgia and all that. Like we try to get a good mix. We're Midwest. We got the whole kind of Midwest down to Florida kind of covered. We got the places cruises go that covered. We got big trips coming. We're about to go to California here in a couple months, and
Well,
our
I
real
was going to say,
big one.
hold on to that because I'm going to be asking you that later on. So
No, but that's kind of where we've been here in the past couple years. It's just kind of, and even just exploring Indianapolis and around Indiana and places like that. That's kind of our shtick, is the up and down from Indiana to Florida and places cruises go.
I think it's cool that you mentioned that because I've definitely had people on the show who share this with me. So I moved to Pittsburgh in 2011. So I've been here. It'll be 15 years come August, actually. So next month. But I definitely still have a lot of areas of Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is a big city, but it's like a middle big city. It's not a massive city. So but Pittsburgh's very spread out. I don't know if you're familiar with Pittsburgh at all, but it's there's a lot of areas here that I still haven't explored. And so when I think about, gosh, I'd like to get away, but I really don't have the money to go anywhere, because my first thought is overseas or South or Central America, or I don't really think about Canada that much, but I've also been there a bunch when I lived in Western New York. So, like, I don't know, but those are my first thoughts. Instead of saying, well, I can't get away, why don't I find a couple of places in Pittsburgh and go and spend a full day? And then it's like driving back to the hotel to come home. And if I want to go back out tomorrow, I'll go back out tomorrow. Like, it's hard to get in that mindset for me. And I'm glad you said that you've explored around Indianapolis, because I think we too often take for granted what's in our backyard and don't take advantage of it.
Yeah, Indianapolis is kind of the same way. Like we're not the biggest. Like when I rode through Atlanta or Chicago and that, I'm like, man, our downtown is small. But we have a lot of functions and a lot of stuff that come through here that makes us. I mean, we're, I guess, a mid-sized market or whatever. But even just learning the stuff, like especially if we're talking about family travel and which is what we mainly focus on, like just going downtown. And I mean, my kids are happy to have, well, especially when they're younger, my kids were happy just to have a hotel that had a pool. Period. We have a pool. One of the stories I'll tell later is like we went to a hotel. They were
Tell it now, man. Go for it. Tell it.
we went. Well, it's called the Newport Aquarium, which is between Indiana and Kentucky. It's just on the other side of the Kentucky border. And now this is when the kids were way younger, and I can remember this was back when they would believe everything we told them. So one of the big things I like to also talk about is like surprising kids and surprising people with stuff. Like if somebody doesn't expect something, even the smallest thing can be the biggest thing in the world. So our kids didn't really expect going anywhere. So and this was just a weekend. Like we went down for 2 days. It was over the weekend. I had to go back to work on Monday. We left on Friday night, and the kids still believed everything we told them. So we was like, look, we're gonna go try us a new place to eat, okay? Now this place is kind of far away, but we heard it's really worth it. And again, the kids are like 8 and 5 or 10 and 7 or something, right? So they just listened. And we were driving, we were going, and going back and forth. And finally, they kind of realized something was up when we started crossing state borders. They're like, all right, where are we going? He was like, look, we're just going to go stay at this hotel. And we got to the hotel. And one of the things I remember is my daughter looking at us. And again, she was 7 or 10. I don't remember the age. But just the light of her face and her saying, we're staying at this hotel and they have a pool. And then it was like, well, we're staying for 2 days, and the kids are so excited that we're staying for 2 days. Like, it's one of those things that make you realize, like, it doesn't really matter where you go, especially when they're younger. It doesn't
I
matter where you go. They,
yeah, I absolutely remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, they're just happy not being at home to a point. They're like happy going to see something.
I mean, I'm still like that going to a hotel. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter where
Yeah.
it is.
Yep.
I've actually thought about just booking a night at my local cobblestone that's up the road from me just to do it, just because I love the feeling of being in a hotel, and it would probably make me feel even more inclined to get out and do stuff. But I absolutely have memories of the kids where we've gone to like a nice resort or somewhere, maybe even it's a nicer hotel because we're in a city to do something great, and it's like my wife at the time and I would look at each other and be like, you know what? We could have just been right near home where they have a pool at the hotel and they would have been absolutely just as happy. It was all about the pool. When do we get to go home and go back to the hotel and go swimming? When do we get to swim? Yeah, crazy. Kids are like that. I love it.
So maybe when your kids are young, hint, hint to the people who have young kids, just drive around for 2 hours and then take them to the hotel right down the street. I don't know. Like, yeah, we're
That's a
going somewhere.
great idea.
You just drive around for about an hour and a half, whatever, and you're literally like 20 minutes away from your house. I don't know. Like,
Such a great
go
idea.
for it. But you're so inclined and you're so almost, I don't know.
Programmed.
Yeah, you're so there you go, programmed to think that you have to do something so great and so wonderful while kids are just sitting here like everything's great. They haven't seen what we've seen. They haven't been through what we've seen, so everything's a new experience.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I try to get out there is that if you're a family with young kids, everything is a new experience. It may not be a new experience to you, but it is to them. So I guess sometimes I feel like while we're a travel place and like I talk about travel and stuff, I almost feel like I'm telling people how to parent to a point. Not really, but just to realize that like everything's new to them. So it doesn't have to be Disney first. It doesn't have to be whatever. It could just be the hotel around the corner that they love. And that's still travel. That's still them experiencing places. That's still you guys as a family making memories. And that's
And you
really what
said
we try to do.
the destination that you were going to for that trip was, did you say it was an aquarium or something
Yeah,
like that?
it was Newport Aquarium, which was right in Kentucky. And
How is
mm,
that?
the kids had a blast. We had so much fun because, you get to see the fishes swim over you. You walk through the aquarium. You get to see there was this rope bridge you got to walk across the shark tank, which, I mean, it's scary. You're like, you're not going to fall, but then you have those thoughts running through your head of, well, what if you do fall? What if they like, you kind of think about it. It's like, but it's a really cool experience just to go and experience even small things. Not everything has to be an all day long event. We went 3 or 4 hours and it was just so cool seeing the animals that you've never seen before. And you get to see them up close. You get to see them personally. And, we had a really good time there.
Yeah, very, very cool. And honestly, when you're talking about younger kids, a lot of times 2, 3 hours, 4 might be even pushing it for their attention span. And, you know, if you have somehow really calm children, that's great. But yeah, most of the time it's gonna be brief anyway. So that's awesome, man. Where would you like to take us as we're getting into like really getting into these stories and experiences? Do you want to start off with some of your cruise experiences since you've had so many of those, or would you rather start in the States? I'll leave it up to you completely.
Uh, I have like now one of my funniest stories that I have is when we actually took the kids to Disney. So we'll start in the States a little bit. Again, this is back when we could do surprises and they would believe everything. So the way my wife and me would talk about it is we're going to get cabinets. That's how we like listen, here in a year we're going down, we gotta go far away, but we got these really cheap cabinets for the kitchen that we're getting. And of course the kids believed everything. So it's like, we're going to get cabinets, we're going to get these cabinets, we're going to get these cabinets. And even when we got in the car and started driving down, it's like, look, we gotta go get these cabinets. It's gonna take all night drive. You guys sit in the back, you got your tablet, you got your stuff. We're going to get cabinets. It's cheaper. The kids don't understand. They didn't know. So we drove all the way down to Florida, got to Cracker Barrel, and we was like, well, do we want to tell them really where we're going? It's like, yeah, we're about 3 hours away. And so we have this big surprise. We're like, here, look, open this up. This is the package. This is what we're going. And they're opening up and they're looking through. Well, the thing is that it was right when, I don't know if you remember when the little boy got ate by the alligator or got messed up by the alligator.
I do remember that.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's sad. And listen, from Indiana, I wouldn't have thought of alligators in the middle of Florida. I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of people gave the parents shit. Sorry, I'm for bad discuss, but I know they gave them a lot of hell for that. But look, from Indiana, if I'm in the middle of Disney World, I wouldn't have thought of alligators. I know it's Florida. It is what it is. But so we're sitting there and they open this up and we have a kid. We have my daughter who's just almost frozen in shock. It's like, we're going to Disney World. And she was so happy. And then my son, who was at the same age as that boy, was like in terror because he so thought that, like, I'd say, like, he thought this was like the end of his life. Like, we're going to Disney World and the alligator's going to get me and this and that. And I'm just sitting there and it's like the dichotomy of one kid so excited that she doesn't even know what to do. And then the other kid so scared that he doesn't even know what to do. It's just one of those stories that stick out in my head because it's like, no, listen, it's going to be fun. I promise. It's one of those things where even though you can plan the world and plan it to the fullest, you never know how kids are going to react, and that's kind of the fun of it.
I'm kind of glad you told them ahead of time now because I could only imagine if you hadn't and you were pulling up and you see that, the Disney World, the sign marquee and stuff, and you're driving through that, I could just imagine if he panicked at that point.
He was almost in tears, and it's kind of like, look, no, buddy, like, no, we're not. The only water we're gonna get near is gonna be a pool or something. Like, we're gonna check it, and he's like, but Dad, but like they did. I'm like, no, it's not. So yeah, we got one that's so ecstatic she doesn't even know what to think, and the other one's so scared. It's like,
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. How was Disney was that the first and is that the only time you've taken them or first time at least?
That was the only time they've gone. Now, I know, not talking about the future too much. We're going here in California here in about 3 months. We're going to see Disneyland, but that was the first time we've seen Disney World and with them. And I mean, they had a blast. We went right in October, so we went in Halloween and just seeing everything and the memories. And we got the memory maker and we got all the photos and all that. And I mean, it was a really great time. And we had, well, I mean, like, yeah, it was the best time. But we've had those times in other places too, so it didn't really matter the money we spent. I do have some budget ideals for people for that. For Disney, the couple of things we did do with the family is,
and I'll allow it because I say that we're not a tip and trick podcast, but I really, when it's something specific like this, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Go for it.
This is easy. The two things we did was, especially since they were younger, is we did the penny makers, where you can stick the 51 cent, which I don't know if it's still 51 cents, but you can stick the 51 cents in, and you get the penny that comes out with the little picture on it. And that kind of gave them something to like a treasure hunt, almost like, oh, well, where's this other penny machine at? Let's see if there's something there. Plus, it's cheap souvenirs. And the other thing we did was we got on eBay and ordered a bunch of Disney pins, because when you're in Disney, they can trade pins. as long as it's official Disney pin or whatever, all the people that have pins on them that work for Disney have to trade their pins. So that kind of gave them souvenirs they could feel like they're trading, or pennies they felt like they could be looking for and searching. And it made it a little bit cheaper, at least souvenir wise. So that way they felt like, hey, let's go. When we went to Epcot or whatever park, they were looking for the penny places. They were looking, oh, do you want this design? Do you want that design? No. And then they'd walk up to somebody working there. And what we did when we got the pins was, we got 100 of them. We split them between the four of us, and whatever pins they didn't like, then they went and traded them with people. So it gave them, it's two real easy ways to kind of budget a little bit of a souvenir and give it that kind of feeling of, now we're searching for something. Now we're looking for pennies. Now we're looking for people who have pins, and we can just take this and trade it with them. And they feel like they've got something new, but you didn't have to spend a bunch of money. So that's two. I know it's not that's a couple of tips for you.
Yeah. No, it's great. And you know what? I hadn't even thought about that before. I knew that you could do the trading with pins, which we never did that with the kids. But it also, unbeknownst to the kids, it kind of forces them, if they're sort of not used to talking to other people and interacting with, I don't want to say strangers, but yeah, strangers. But,
Mhm.
hopefully you're safe in Disney. But it kind of forces them to get out there and actually have conversations with people, even if they're very brief, and
Right.
interact with others. And I think that's a huge part of what also makes travel really rewarding, I guess, is having conversations with other people. So, and it can start with anything. So I don't know if they had any like longer conversations with anyone, or if you did, just by talking about trading a pin.
Yeah, and but yeah, it also gave them, because it was like, hey, listen, if you want to go there and trade that pin with them, like, you have to go up and ask. I'm not gonna go up and ask for you. Just go over there, like, they're supposed to trade the pin with you. They have to. So go up there, and they would trade the pins, and it gave them something that, we got 100 pins for like $50 or something before we even went to Disney. So once we went through and divided them, and we had everybody pick, we took turns, just like, okay, everybody goes. And then when they got to the point where it's like, well, I don't want any of those pins, I was like, well, that's the purpose of it, is now you have pins. So when we go to these parks, you can trade these pins and get stuff that you see that you actually like. So it was just one of those things, if you're trying to go to Disney, I know it's expensive as heck. Souvenirs are expensive as heck. I don't have a lot of tips and tricks, but that's two right there for Disney. If you're going, talk up the pennies, and that's something they can take home that's really cool they can throw in there, and doing the pins that you can get off of eBay for a decent price. I mean, we went and most pins are $15 or $16. So if you can get 100 of them for 50, 60, 70, or even $100, even $1 a piece, like, you're still way ahead, and it gives your kids so much to walk around and look at and do, and kind of have a treasure hunt while they're at Disney. It helps out a lot.
No, very, very cool. And like I said, the podcast itself has sort of evolved over the last year and a half. And so I was pretty staunch against it when I first started, because I don't, there's pods out there that do that stuff, but I do enjoy hearing the stuff like that, because honestly, I don't plan on having more children at 50, but I do plan on hopefully having grandchildren someday. And these are things that I'm going to keep in the back of my mind. So, if we take them to Disney, I might take you up on those tips that you gave us.
Yeah, it's something really simple. That's simple stuff. We don't know it, like, we don't know a lot of them, but that's simple stuff we came up with. I
Yeah.
know, I know. One time we went, or we were driving. We do a lot of, like, if almost all our trips are road trips. Like, my wife and me have been on planes before. My daughter's, again, 18. My son's 15. They haven't been on planes yet. So everywhere we've gone is on road trips. So that's one thing I'm a big advocate of, is road tripping with your family. Because for us, and even when I was a kid, there's something just about being on the road and being out at 3 o'clock in the morning and stopping at that gas. We do a lot of Buc-ee's when we go down to Florida and stuff. We have our plans planned out to stop at each Buc-ee's 4 or 5 hours apart that we have going down to Florida when we're going on cruises and stuff. And, like, it's kind of, if you ask me, to me, it's magical. Like, there's something great about driving in the middle of the night just going, knowing you're on your way to some adventure, some vacation, some place you've not seen, and that's just part of it, and we love it. Like, we love the road trip. Sometimes it sucks, yes, it sucks at 4 a.m. when you're driving and you're tired and everybody's tired and you have to pull over and sometimes sleep in a rest area or close your eyes or whatever. But for us as traveling people, like, that's just kind of part of the fun. It's part of the excitement. It's part of the we're getting up, we're going, here we go, we're going down here to this cruise. But first, we got to drive 16 hours and we have to figure out who's good. Luckily, now we have a kid that can also drive, which I don't make her drive at night, but she can at least drive during the day. And then, it's that family bonding time. It's that stuff which you might get on a plane. I don't know. Like, again, we've not been on a plane with the kids. We've been to airports, me and Mandy, my wife, but they've not been to an airport yet. We got one coming up in November, but just the driving time, the pulling up to a gas station at 3 a.m. and nobody's really there, or a Buc-ee's, and you go in and 12 hours, it was so packed you could barely walk through, but now it's most of the way empty. You can get out and stretch your legs and just have that time together, like. But
Heck yeah. Hopefully you could have some good conversations during the day. You can crank some music and sing songs together or something.
Yep.
I definitely have great memories of road tripping. I've become, as I've gotten older, I've become more and more of a fan of taking the airplane because I can go a little further in the same amount of time or shorter, but yeah, I get it. And there's definitely something cool about it.
We're getting to that time. That's our next phase, is doing the plane thing. But as young kids, I know people just look like, but even these days, there's so much now to keep kids' attention. Like, they're not used to like how we was when we just had to stare out the window and hope we seen something cool. Like,
Yep.
there's
Yeah, I grew up with, a Walkman or something maybe, or, but I was constantly listening to the same cassette tapes or CDs over and over again, when I was a kid.
Yep.
So, yeah. Where do you want to take us next, Dustin? I mean, so far we've been to Disney and we've done some aquarium travels to Kentucky.
Another good memory I have is the first time we went to the Bahamas. Now, I had been to the Bahamas before. I have a buddy who was born and raised there. His family's just like, he's Bohemian. That's just his island. That's his island. That's what he is. And I can remember the first time we went on a cruise to the Bahamas, and he came and picked us up. And he picked us up in his car, and we went to this gas station. And when he got out of the car, again, this was Denver. This is when when the kids were really young, but Denver was like 8 or something. And he got out of the car, he's barefooted because that's just how they are. The whole island's basically a big beach. And I can just remember my son looking at me and saying, Dad, your friend's driving barefoot. Like, what's he doing? Like, he's here barefooted. And it's like, yeah, buddy, that's what they do here. And it's one of those things that he didn't even realize could happen. And these are
Well, heck yeah, because back home you're not allowed in the gas station if you're barefoot.
right. And it's like, I'm really just trying to put memories out there, and hopefully people realize that that's what travel is about, is just having the memories with your family and your friends and your spouses or whatever that you go with that you can remember. So we really like the Bahamas. I mean, we've gone back a couple times since then. My buddy's mom always makes us fresh fish from the island. She has plantains on the island that she makes us plantain bread. She's got coconut. So we have this whole separate thing that most people don't get to see, where we get to see the other side of the island. And it's just it's a whole total cultural difference that most people don't get to see, but it's something that, like, I feel like a lot of more people need that they don't get to see.
Yeah, it's very cool. That's very unique, actually, because if you've done cruising, for those of you that have, you know that depending on what type of cruise you're on, but if you're in a Caribbean cruise, typically you stop at a port, you get 4, 5, 6 hours maybe in a place, depending on exactly where you are, and then maybe you get more of a day, but you still don't get truly enough time typically on your own to really understand what it's like in a place. But when you've got a local contact that can pick you up, take you away from all the touristy stuff, Because honestly, you step off the port at the port, you're seeing you're not seeing a true representation of a place. It's all made for people to spend their money. So
I'm
I think that's awesome.
I'm a big proponent of if you do a cruise, like I mean, we've never swam with the dolphins, which I think would be really cool. We've never swam with the turtles, which I think would be really cool. I'm a big proponent though of doing, and yes, they are the ones that don't cost as much. Go and do the tours or the excursions that show you the actual life and the actual places of that island. Especially if you have kids, let them see the way other people are raised and the way other countries do things. Like, it always amazes me when we go and do, like, the town tours or whatever, and you're driving by and you realize, like, look, these little kids are still in school, and they take you by the elementary, and kids are still out there at recess or whatever playing, or you get to see the local cultures and the local whatever. Like, I think there's so much in that of showing you how great this world is and how different everything is. Like that's what even when you go to a different state, how different it is. When you go to a different city, how different it is. Like there's so much to learn and so much you can get from that. That again, memories over destinations. Doesn't matter where you go, you can see so much everywhere. I just want people to realize how much they can see and get to know.
Yeah. On that note, can you tell me any specific experiences anywhere that you've been, anywhere, states or from cruise stops or anywhere in the world that you've been, that just really stood out to you as like, wow, this culture here is very different? And maybe like why? Like what stood out to you in a place that, not that it's good or bad, nothing about that, just like, holy crap, like this is way different than my life in Indianapolis or my life at home. And like what was that like?
Like what got me, it was on a cruise. We went to Grand Turk, right? And the the biggest thing that stood out to me in Grand Turk was the size of it. Like it's literally 7 miles by 2 miles. You're looking at square feet, maybe 21 miles. Like I drive further than that to work every day. I drive further than that sometimes to go to the mall or somewhere else every day. And it really made me like sit there and think like some people's whole life is only 21 miles long. And that might be a crazy way or a weird way to think about it, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, these people's whole life is just not even what I drive to work every day.
What was it like there, as far as, did you get to see like this is where the markets are, or this is the, like how the restaurants are, like
Well,
how different
the
was
other
it there?
thing, yeah, the other thing that I wanted to bring up about Grand Turk, besides how small it was that's where like the whole island was nothing but donkeys, like wild donkeys. Like they used to have a salt trade there, and once the salt trade stopped because they had salt lakes or whatever, or not the salt ponds, wherever you get salt from, they just decided to let these donkeys run wild, and they were literally to the point where there's almost more donkeys than there is native people that live there. So, like, every corner you go to, like, just driving down the street, there's just, like, donkeys everywhere. So, I thought that was really cool, was just seeing these donkeys just running around, and then, of course, we went to the beach, and just seeing the beaches and the ocean, and the clear blue of it is just ridiculous. Like, you don't get that in Indiana at all. All our lakes and streams and water are dark. You don't see nothing below your neck, and when you go to some of these Caribbean islands and this and that, to be able to see your toes and everything swimming towards you, it's almost scary because you don't know what's coming towards you.
Yeah, sometimes it's almost an optical illusion. If the water is really calm and something's floating on top of it, it's just incredible. I agree with you. The Caribbean waters are some of the clearest I've ever seen in my life. Curious, even though they're wild donkeys, are they still relatively tame? And the reason I'm asking that is because when we went to Puerto Rico, we stayed on a little island off the mainland of Puerto Rico called Vieques. And on Yekis, there are kind of like that. There are hundreds of wild horses everywhere, and they are so calm and so tame. We went to this one park that we pulled up to, and there had to be 16 or 17 of them just kind of mulling around, milling around, whatever the word is. And we were able to walk right up to them. I have a picture of my wife at the time, just like with her arm on it, like it was just calm and tame and no fear whatsoever. It was one of the coolest things ever to just see them wandering free and to be able to just walk up to them.
I did pet one, but it was all totally at your own risk. They're not.
For sure.
Yeah, they weren't as. I mean, they could be friendly. They could not be. It was kind of like whatever the temperament was that the donkey was in that day. I pet one that really wanted food, like we were feeding them and this, and it was also weird because not weird. It was just a different experience. That once you was out swimming in the ocean, when you come back, and like they had the water things where you clean your feet off of the sand, and while you're sitting there cleaning your feet off from the sand, like there's donkeys sitting there drinking the water because it's fresh water that you're cleaning your feet off with, and they're just sitting there kind of. So when it was licking the water out of the little pool that was getting made when I was spraying my feet off, I did give it a little pet, but they were like, "Look, these donkeys will either let you pet them or they might kick you, so it's kind of at your own risk." So yeah, it's kind of at your own risk kind of thing.
I hope you didn't have to experience anyone getting kicked.
No, not around us that time, thankfully.
Oh my
I
gosh.
we did see a couple of people from the cruise getting chased around the chairs. They were that like the people had to come over and stop the donkey because it was chasing, and we seen it a couple of times where it was trying to get people's stuff off their chairs and chasing them around. But luckily, I didn't have to experience.
Oh my gosh. Now you're making me think of other things. Like now I'm thinking about this one time. I don't know. I don't usually share stories. This is really awesome that you're pulling things out of me.
Yeah, I'm
I
here to hear.
was
Let me hear them.
we were in Costa Rica and we were at Manuel Antonio National Park, and I'll never forget because we were just having a nice calm time on the beach, and I think there was two couples, us and another couple, and there are I don't know what type of monkeys they were, but we really didn't see them for the longest time. And then all of a sudden they must have decided they were hungry because they just started plopping out of the trees and they had no cares about going up to anything and everything that looked like food. And they're so darn smart that I have video of one that had grabbed a bag. Uh, I think it was from one that was in our party. I don't think it was ours, but I think it was the couple that was with us, or maybe it was the couple next to us. I don't remember. But anyway, grabbed the bag of food, brought the bag and brought it up into the tree and started like rifling through it until it found the food that was in it, and was very meticulously like, everything else got dropped on the ground, but was very meticulously pulling apart the food and eating it. Like, this is just, I know exactly what I'm doing. And if I want it, I'm going to take it. And those little rascals, man, they're fast
Yeah,
and they were tough to avoid.
we went to Honduras once, and we went and did an excursion, and we got to see the little monkeys. You could feed them and this and that. Well, I have earrings. I have diamonds in each one of my ears, and one of the monkeys decided that they were going to try to rip one of those out of my ears because they wanted them. And luckily, I felt its hand going up there, and I got it covered just in time because it had a hold of it for a second, and it almost did rip my earring out of my ear. Luckily, I got his hand off of it quick enough. But yeah, that was one of those things where I thought like, yeah, my earring's gonna, I just got my hand up there just in time. But that's such a cool experience just to have monkeys, running across you. And at that same time, we seen sloths, and
Yes, aren't sloths cool? I was going to bring that up too.
yeah, sloths are so cool. Like it didn't actually get to hang on us, but it was on a branch with us. And sloths are my son's favorite, and for him to see his face light up, and my daughter's, and everybody's faces light up just to be there next to it and get to pet it and get to like kind of be around them. Like it's so great to have those memories and just to get up and go out and do it. Like you have to like.
Yeah, I would highly recommend. I know your kids are older now, but I would highly recommend even still maybe doing a family trip to Costa Rica if you get the time and the funds to do it. And yeah, I think you can do it relatively cheap as well. Not as cheap as obviously just traveling to another state, but there's so much there and so much wildlife, and they have such like the coolest like little frogs and stuff there that you can see, and you can go on these, especially if you do like a nighttime tour, but even during the day. And if people don't get too freaked out about spiders, my youngest son, at the time that we went, I think he was probably mid-teens. Now he's 23, but I just remember him being completely freaked out because they have some of the biggest spiders I've ever seen there too. Not like Australia or something, but really, really big, ugly spiders, but some really cool wildlife there. And, you'll just be standing around and all of a sudden there'll be this gaggle of people and you're like, why are they all like jumbled up over by this tree? And then you look up and you realize there's a sloth just hanging out there like with their baby or something. And yeah, really just cool. The one place we stayed had a hammock on the porch or on the patio, the deck, whatever. And I just remember laying on the deck. I was actually watching a Pirates game. I don't know, baseball was on. So I was watching a Pirates game on my phone and I looked up and yeah, there's just a monkey hanging out above me. It's just so surreal and really cool to have those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's so neat just to see. Like here in Indiana, we have wildlife, but to go somewhere else and see their wildlife, and when I really encourage people to go and do cruises. Like at first I didn't think that would be that cool. And yes, Carnival does get a bad rap. I understand, you see the videos, but we've never had a problem on like a Carnival cruise or any cruise. We stick to ourselves, and just to be able to go and see other, again, cultures and walks of life and the way and other species and other animals, like, I think it's just so great and so unique to see it. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just amazed as a guy from Indiana who spends his whole life working to be able to go other places and just see everything and anything, and monkeys in the trees and monkeys crawling on you, or even here locally. Like, I haven't done a lot of local stuff here on this podcast, but have gone to like local safaris and local like places where you get to feed animals, and just to be able to sit there and feed a giraffe or feed a zebra or feed a wild, or I guess it's not wild, but to feed a bison, come over and and have them eat out of your hand, like it's such an experience that like you don't I mean it's just great.
Yeah. While we're on that sort of like cruise theme, any other really fun or even scary like cruise stories, whether it's just something involved with the travel itself or on the ship or anything else cool that you've seen in any of the ports that you've been at?
I mean, I have one story where I had to kind of get a little I had to get a little gangster with it.
A little
When
aggressive.
yeah, when we was in Honduras, like my wife plans most of our stuff, and she was like, "Hey, look, I've seen this person on Facebook, and let's go do this non-carnival excursion and this and that." And I was like, "All right, you say it's cool." So, we paid the money. They're supposed to come there and pick us up. It wasn't through any other cruise lines. And we got there and we're just kind of waiting around. We're waiting around. This guy's not showing up. This guy's not showing up. And finally, another one of the people that are local there came over and was like, "Well, who you guys looking for?" We gave him the number and we called him and this and that. And the guy was still asleep. He was on the other side of the island, like an hour away or something. And he was like, "Yeah, well, I'm probably not gonna be able to make it, and I'm sorry I forgot," and this and that. Well, this other guy that was here that came over and let us use his phone was like, "Well, I'll take you guys and you give me the money and I'll split it with him and I'll give it all to him and this and that." And this guy ended up being the best. The person that took us around, like, he was so great, man. Like, I wish it was who we planned the tour through the first time, but we didn't. We went to this other guy, and this guy, he took us everywhere. He took us to see all the landmarks. He took us to this little beach, and like it was so great. Well, man, at this time, like I was like, "Look, dude, I just want to give you the money." He's like, "Well, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that because I told this guy that I would just take you." And I was like, "Look, dude, like I had a couple drinks in me. I'm not gonna lie." And I was like, "Look, let me call." I was like, "Look, let me call this dude. I'm gonna tell him I'm not giving him anything." I was like, he's already got like $200 from us, and he didn't even show up because this was a group of like 12 or 15 of us, and it was like $20 a person to just reserve. He didn't even show up. So I called the student. I was like, look, I'm not giving you anything else. I'm going to give this tour guide that's here with us. He said it costs X amount of money for us to get into this little zoo we went into and his gas. And it ended up being like 150, but we owed still like between the 12 of us, we owed like $700 or $800. I was like, look, I'm giving him 150 and that's it. And this guy was like, no, 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 you owe me all this money. I'm like, dude, you didn't even show up. What are you talking about? I was like, you got two options. Either A, I'm gonna give you guys nothing. I'm getting back on this cruise. I'm going back to America. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be that American guy, but like, you didn't even show up to pick us up. Or B, I can give you enough to cover the expenses, and you just be happy, and I won't get on your Facebook page and tell everybody how bad of a tourist guide you was because you didn't show up. And I had to be forceful a little bit. I didn't really want to be, but I had to be. But then the guy that actually took us, I gave him the rest of the money we actually owed. I said, look, dude, here goes what we owe. You know what it is. Like, keep this for yourself. I'm not trying to short anybody, but this guy didn't show up. He didn't care. He had no other plans to come pick us up. So I'm sticking up for you. Here goes the other $600 or $700. Either you can divide this with him, or you can keep it for yourself. And I really want you to keep it for yourself because you've been the best tour guide we've had in almost every island we've been on. So that's kind of the story of me having to, get a little forceful. Luckily, like, we got back on the cruise ship and left, but like, sometimes just be wary about who you go through, and you don't really know until you show up. And luckily we had a guy that showed up that he was just phenomenal. Like, he took us everywhere, and that's why I wanted him to get the money that he deserved that we owed.
For sure.
I wouldn't normally be that way. I'm not that kind of person, but like, you didn't show up.
That's fair.
Yeah, this other guy
You
showed
did all
up.
the work.
Yeah, he did it all. And I was like,
But they knew each other. Like,
Yeah.
I guess they probably all know each other, but
yeah, and the first he was kind of like, well, I don't know. He was like, well, if you tell him you're not going to give me any money, he was like, if you call and tell them that, then I'm fine, but I can't really tell them that. And so that's why I was like we was headed back to the ship. Like, it was late in the day. We were headed back to the ship. I could see the ship, and I was like, well, bet, I'll call him for you and let him know that, like, we're not giving you guys any money. And I said, after I tell him that, and he was like, okay with it, I said, here goes all the money we owe that other guy, but he didn't show up and you did. So here goes this $700 or $500, whatever it was. It's like, here it is. It's all you. I'm not trying to short anybody, but you did all the work. So let me give you all the money. And then after that, if you decide to give him some, that's on you. If not, like,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's the one time I really had to sit there and be like forceful with it, and like, here, I believe you deserve the money. You came over, you helped us get a hold of the other guy. You took on this tour, you took us everywhere, and I think you deserve it. But I also don't really I still want to do the excursions through the cruise ships, me personally, because I don't want to run into that situation again.
No, yeah, those are guaranteed. But isn't it cool even, and thankfully a bad situation turned into a good situation, but I have, like, there's a place I think in traveling to definitely take something with a tour guide, because I feel like, especially if they're local, which most times they are, you learn so much more from somebody who's local that can tell you and show you things that you just can't find by Googling or just trying to take off on your own and try to explore. And that's not even just like when you're in a place for a short amount of time, like on a cruise, but any city that you go to, even if you're in Indianapolis, you could probably find a tour guide that's going to walk you around somewhere, and you're probably going to learn stuff that you had no idea about your own city,
Yeah.
So I love tour guides, especially walking guides, but the ones that are driving are good too, if you can hear them and they can tell you stuff.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about travel, again, is just learning about other places, whether it's just here in America or it's in the Caribbean or in Europe or Africa or wherever you go. Like, go to learn and like see other people's cultures and and just have a good time. Like, that's me, man. We're just adventure kind of people, and we just want to have experiences where we know where we can learn other things.
Yeah, man. I knew this would happen. It always happens. I look at the clock and it's, oh, holy cow, we've been over an hour already just chatting away. So we probably got time for a couple more if there's any other destinations that you wanted to talk about or touch on before we get to our final five questions. I know you've been to a couple other, well, a handful of other states as well as your cruises. Is there anything you wanted to touch on from back in the States, or more cruise stories? I don't care where we go.
Yeah, no, like one time we was going through Tennessee, it was Memphis, and we went to the Bass Pro Shops in the Pyramid is what it's called. And like it was the coolest thing ever. Like it was free to get in. Yes, it's a Bass Pro Shop. It's a store, but it was inside of this big pyramid. And you go in there, man, and they have like little waterways built with like boats and this and that, and they have the world's largest, I don't know if it's world, America's largest, whatever it is, freestanding elevator going up in the middle of it, and you could go out and see, I think it's the Ohio River that runs by there, whatever river it is. But it was like one of these places that we weren't planning on going. Actually, we were just driving, trying to get back home, and I seen it, and I was like, hey, like it's a Bass Pro Shop in the middle of a glass pyramid. Let's go check it out real quick. And like we spent 2 or 3 hours there just going through, and it was one of those unexpected stops where it was like it was about time to get out and use the restroom and stretch your legs and do everything anyways. And we stopped in this place, and it was so cool just seeing what they can do inside of just a building.
I was going to ask you about that too. Like, has there been other, because you've road tripped so much, other just really cool, unexpected roadside attractions, even maybe even some that you planned on stopping at on your way, but anything like kind of cool like that?
When we do the road trip down to Florida, we plan all our trips out or all our stops at the Buc-ee's. We're a big Buc-ee's family or fans or whatever you call it. Like my kids love going to the Buc-ee's. But even like the small places where we stopped at, like there's a place called Casey, Illinois, and we just kind of stopped through. It was just a weekend thing, and it had like the world's largest mailbox, the world's largest rocking chair, the world's largest wooden boots, and like the world's largest car key, and this whole neighborhood all together, or it was actually like their downtown. It was a small town. This whole place had like it was like 20 or 30 different like kind of little roadside attraction things that you could walk around and see. And it's free to see it. The parking I think was free, or if not, it was like $10 or whatever. You parked and you got to walk around this whole little town and see all these amazing spots that as adults I thought was cool. But like the world's largest bird cage and stuff, like it's those
Did it have
spots.
the world's largest bird in it?
I mean, I got
That would
in
be
it.
pretty cool.
I got in it, so maybe.
Okay.
Maybe the one time I got in it, it might have been the world's largest.
Uh,
But
Probably had some really cool little restaurants and cafes or
yeah,
whatever. Like,
it's Americana. Like that's what it is. It's the Americana stuff where like it takes you back to like even the days before probably we were born, where people this is what they did. They went and they seen roadside stops. They took their little trips, and it kind of just brings you back to what Americana is, what it was supposed to be of small towns, small adventures that just make you feel good and have fun with your family. I consider our hometown amusement park is Kings Island. And we have so many times we've gone to Kings Island. Like what's great about a place like Kings Island for us is that I went there as a kid. We got to take our kids there as kids. Heck, my daughter just went there last weekend. It's about a 2-hour trip from Indianapolis. And it's kind of our place. And it's so fun to be able to share that with your kids, especially if it's a place you went to as a kid. And we did the season pass, and they have like a platinum pass because then it was owned by Cedar Fair, so now it opened up every park, and we used that as a way to like we went to Kings Island for a couple of days, and we used this as our little summer trip since we had the pass, and we went up to Cedar Point, which is part of it. We went there for a couple of days, stayed in a hotel, went over to, I believe it was Michigan Adventure. We stayed there for a couple of days, and that was kind of our summer trip. But we got 3 parks, one we'd been to, other amusement parks we'd never been to, and, we just enjoyed them as a family and got to see new places that were all right around us, and it was part of the pass we bought, and it was just such a good time going to see, again, just other places around us, and it was so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great idea too. If you have a place like that where you can do something where, like, the pass brings you to
Yep.
other states or
Six
other
Six
places.
Flags does it too, so I believe Six Flags has that kinda pass where you can, like, it was only like 20 or $30 extra, even if it's like 40, $50, whatever, I don't know, price, whatever. But, like, to open up all the Six Flag parks, because I think Kings Island is now part of Six Flags, but, that's something where you can pay the extra money, which isn't really a lot if you can open up all the parks, and then you can make that your whole little trip of hitting this park, hitting that park, go to another park, go to places that you've never seen. And I mean, and really that's kinda like a Disney. Disney's 4 parks in the same spot, but you add a couple of road trips in there and wanna go see a bunch of other parks, even that, getting that kind of season pass that opens up the parks is way cheaper than a week at Disney or a week at some of these other places.
Oh, for sure. And then if you wanted to take advantage of the fact that you're in a different city, you can explore the city a little bit and not spend the entire time in the parks. I mean, that's a great idea as well.
I love looking for the local art too. Like when you go places and just kind of walk around and get pics and stuff of local statues or local art and stuff that it's stuff people don't expect to really appreciate. But I love taking pictures of that and posting it because it's stuff you don't really expect to see. But like art's everywhere. I love going to, even like when we go on these cruises, seeing the art and the statues and the mask and the stuff and the local cultures. It amazes me and it amazes my kids. And if you have the kind of love for that, go out and do it because it's different everywhere you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you get to a place and it's I think it's happening more and more in cities and towns in America. At least I think I've seen it more, but coming from like places in South and Central America where you may look at something and think of it as graffiti, but there's just beautiful murals on the sides of buildings or walls. And I mean, when I say beautiful, I mean these people are so uber talented. It is insane some of the artwork that you can just find out in the middle of nowhere, walking down a side street, and just a beautiful mural. And you can look at it and go, there's a story in there. Like you can see, a woman and maybe the sky, or it's like you can just tell like there's actually a story in this. It's not just somebody threw something on a wall. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot more of it now here lately, even like here in Indianapolis or other cities we go to where it seems like people are really starting to embrace that culture of, I don't want to say tagging, of putting portraits outside of the building and making it look so great and showcasing that artistic work that people have. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, man. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. If you're okay with it, I say we jump into the final 5 questions, and I will say you feel free to expand as much as you'd like to on these answers. So if there are stories that go along with the answers, by all means, I'm not in a rush. So is that okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So question number 1. We didn't really talk about food, so I'm interested to know what your answer will be to this. Of all the places in the world that you've ever been outside of your own home, like I'm not talking like your wife made a great meal. So, of all the places in the world that you've ever been outside of your home, what are the 1 or 2 most memorable meal experiences you've ever had? And I phrase that very carefully. And I say that because sometimes it's not about the food itself, but sometimes it is. So, the 1 or 2 most memorable meal experiences you've ever had.
I mean, the thing about food is I like to explore different foods, but I'm not a seafood person. I don't eat nothing from any kind of water. It's just fish. Any of it's never been my thing. And what's crazy is my wife loves fish, any kind of seafood, any kind of whatever. So for me personally, I think just the best cuisines and stuff I've had has probably just been on cruises because it's the place that I personally have been able to explore different desserts or explore different cuisines and different pastas and this and that, but I'm not a big seafood person, so I can't really, even on cruises and stuff, I can't really pick the seafood options. And this is the time that I will speak for my wife because when we did go to the Bahamas, like her dude, that's all she talks about is when my buddy's mom makes those fresh meals for us and makes that fresh seafood and that fresh. We did try some of the other stuff, but man, like the Bahamas is such a seafood place. And when you're on cruises in some of these islands, I almost feel bad because it's just not my thing. I'm just not a seafood person. And I almost feel like I'm getting left out because it's like she goes and she gets to try all this fish and she gets to try all this seafood and all this cuisine and stuff. And I'm just like, it's just not my thing. It's just not my bag, but she loves it, and so she tries all this different seafood and stuff, and the kids are like me, they don't try it neither. So I would say the best places that we've actually had good cuisine is just probably on the cruises because they ate each night's a different kind of thing, and we have gotten to try so much on there. We're just not seafood people, and my wife's probably favorite place is when we go to the Bahamas and stuff, and she gets to try all the seafood she wants to.
No, that's very cool. Very, very good. I understand completely. Okay, question number 2. Shifting gears. I say this every time, but again, brand new guest. Of all of the places in the world, I skipped it. I say this is one of my favorite questions. Or did I say that? I don't know. Anyway, it's one of my favorite questions. Of all the places in the world that you have ever been, even if I said to you, Dustin, here you go, here's a free trip, take your family, whatever you want to do, it's on me, you would say, no, thank you, I don't want to go back to that place. If there is one.
The only place that I've ever been that I really felt uncomfortable in, I would say, is Mexico. And it's not even nothing against them. It's just we came up and we ported, and when I walked outside the port, like it's the one place that out of all the places we've been to and walked outside of the port and stuff that I just felt, and it was Cozumel. I just felt uneasy. I walked around a little bit and I walked right back into the port. Like it's just, I don't know. I just felt uneasy there. Like I walked out, the first question, I walked by somebody and they're like, "Hey, we have women in cocaine over here if you want it." And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Oh, you know you want it." And I'm like it's the only time I've ever even been propositioned like that. And I'm like, "No." And it just, I'm sure there's other places that are great. Like I kind of worry we're about to go to Jamaica. I hear, you hear the stories. I don't know, but like it's just but even at that, I want to go back to Mexico. It's just I would say it's the one place I felt the uneasiest that I've been on cruises and travel is Mexico is a little iffy. It's the only port I've been to where the military were walking around with their guns out and they had AK-47s and they were even patrolling the port. So it's just the one place I felt the uneasiest.
Okay, very fair. And so, not again, like you said, not saying you necessarily won't go back to Mexico,
No,
but
because there's still
this was not.
places I'd love to go see. It was just out of the places I've been, that's the one place we kind of felt the uneasiest. Because again, the military was walking around. They had their AK-47s out and they were ready. And I walked out and uneasiest. I definitely want to go back. It just was the place I felt uneasiest.
All right, very good. Flipping that question 180 degrees, but I add a caveat onto this. So, question 3 is, of all the places in the world that you have been, if you only had 1 or 2 trips left in your lifetime for some reason, what would be those 1 or 2 places that you've already been to that you say, I absolutely have to get back to one or two of these places? What would those places be?
I absolutely loved the U.S. Virgin Islands. Like, when you pull up, that is the scenic picture that you see of the Virgin Islands, the little towns. inside the mountain or whatever that, going up and all the trees and like the Virgin Islands, US Virgin Islands was just beautiful. I love Dominican Republic. I love DR or Puerto Rico, one of the two. I forget either one of them. Like the three islands I really loved was the US Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, and the Puerto Rico. Like they're just so beautiful. And it's so amazing to think that people, I don't know, maybe they get tired of seeing that, but it was just those spots that when you think of paradise and this picturesque paradise of where you want to go and stay and hang out, especially the Virgin Islands, like it's probably the most beautiful island I seen from the boat when we pulled up, and even when we went up and looked out and they had their views and stuff that you could see from the island, like that's just a place that to me was like picture perfect.
Yes, very fair. And I can agree that the Virgin Islands are very, very, very beautiful and picturesque, and the water's so clear. I love it. Okay, question number 4 has the same caveat, but it's a little different. So, question number 4 is, of all the places in the world that you have never been, and I have a feeling this might be tough for you, but maybe not, because I know there's a lot of places you want to get to. But notwithstanding anything that you already have planned, if you only have 1 or 2 trips left in your lifetime for some reason, again, what are the 1 or 2 places that you've never been that you absolutely must get to?
I mean, yeah, we do have Italy coming up, which I can't wait to see, but like just I don't know, I mean like Australia I think would be I just think Australia would be so cool to see. But if I ever go to Australia, like I don't want to just spend a week. Like I want to like it's one of those places that you feel like you should spend a month or 6 months in. Like that's one of those places where it's like there's probably so much to see that like you couldn't see it in one trip. I think Australia would be beautiful. Obviously Europe, and then of course like Africa. Like I mean, to think of all the lions and the tigers and like just like I don't know, man, just to see how totally different their whole point of view is, how totally different they see everything. Like I'm just amazed with other cultures and the way other countries are. So I would guess Australia. And if I had to pick, if there was another place, if it was two, I'd go Australia and then probably Africa. Just, I mean, problem with Africa is it's just so huge. What do you pick? Like,
Yeah, they're both pretty big.
yeah,
So,
where do you,
yeah,
well, you only have a couple trips
Europe
left.
is massive.
Where do you pick in Africa to go? If it's like, I have one trip left.
Hey, I didn't put a limit on time. I just said a limit on the trips. So you could
Yeah, okay, so all of Africa, like
all of that.
just to spend the time going through the safaris and seeing the different cultures and seeing the different way people live and just seeing like everything that's totally different than what we have here. Like I think that would just be so awesome.
Awesome. Great answers, man. Great answers. Okay, well, our final question is one you've given us smatterings of already. So the final question is what's already planned for the rest of this year, maybe into next year? Dustin, where are you going?
Well, we're really excited here in November because my son gets to play with his marching band from school. He gets to be in a parade. It's the Hollywood Christmas Day parade in November, so it'll be on TV and everything, which is in California. And with that comes us going to see Disneyland for the day and Universal Studios for the day. And we get to go see Santa Monica Pier and the planetarium and like and what's really exciting is it'll be the kids' first time on the plane. So like we're so looking forward to all that and getting to see my son obviously perform in a parade. Like that's just amazing to me. And then, like I've said, we have Italy in March, which is it's through the kids at school. There's no like instrument being played or anything, but like we're going to Italy and we get to see the cathedral and you get to see where the Pope is, the Sistine Chapel and all that. Like it's going to be such a cultural shock. Like it for the kids and for us, like it's just going to be, I think, so amazing. And then in July of next year, we're going on another cruise. So we have Jamaica and I don't know, a couple other ports. Like it's just like we just want to see so much of everything. We like it's just it doesn't even matter where we're going at this point. I have fun everywhere and we have fun and it's just seeing it all. I can't wait.
Dude, I'm so excited for you, especially. I mean, I've never been to Jamaica, so that's a place that's been on my list. It's a little lower down, but it's on my list. And I've been to Italy a couple of times. I'm so excited for you to go to Italy. I think what we really should probably do is reconnect, maybe August or something of next year after you've had these other trips, and you'll probably do a couple road trips in between.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have more stories to tell, some probably really incredible stories. I want to hear about how they were on their first time on a plane,
Yeah.
traversing the airport. It's could be some funny stories out of that alone, not even, just the experiences that you have. So I'm excited for you and your family. Thank you so much for taking this amount of time with us. Is there anything before we hit stop that you would just like to say before we actually wrap?
Yeah, listen, I just want trying to give people motivation, Go out and travel. Go out and do something you never thought you could do. Do that thing that you want to do. Like again, at 45, I never knew how to do a website. I've got a website up. I never knew how to do blogs. I put all my stuff in. Look, I cheat a little bit. I put all my memories, all my stuff, photos into Chat GPT. I put what I want in there. It spits something out for a blog and I go through it and then I add and I change and it kind of like helps me put my thoughts and my ways through to what I want to post up there. Like there's so much you can do these days. And like as a guy who still works in a warehouse, I'll be there tomorrow, who's always worked in a warehouse, who never thought this stuff would be possible, who never thought they could do a website, who never thought that they could put videos together or record and take this time. Like in 5 years, could I have just been nowhere? Maybe in 5 years, none of this will pay off. Maybe I'll just still be Mr. Warehouse Guy putting videos up. But at least I've tried to do something. At least, you take those first steps and it could lead to something great where you're like getting paid and people are watching you and trust you and coming to hear what you say. Or maybe you're just throwing it up, but you know what? You're trying to do something else. And like, I really want to motivate people like to try and have fun and have experiences, man, and like enjoy this life that we have because, you only got it once. So let's go out and get from behind the TV screen, get from behind the phone screen and the tablet screen. And yeah, you can see it on the screens, but it's a lot more fun to just go out and enjoy it and take those steps and those leaps of faith. I feel like people our age probably didn't really do those leaps of faith and like go out and do it and see what happens.
Yeah, man. Very, very well said. I appreciate you again. I appreciate you taking the time. I'll put all the links to your stuff in the show notes and the description as well. And I'm excited to see what happens with your YouTube and your blogs and everything. Hopefully you'll have some time after your trips to post some stuff or maybe during or whatever. And I'll be really excited to follow you along. So thank you again, Dustin. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
And there's another episode of the Where Have You Been podcast in the books. Thank you so much for listening today. It was another great guest with some great stories, as always. And I hope that you will support all of the guests by checking out the show notes and going to their web pages, seeing any socials and projects that they may have going on. And please, again, I'll ask as always to like, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really does help to allow the podcast to grow and reach more people, and I appreciate you for doing that. Also, if you haven't done so, check out the website, whybpodcast.com, where you can find blog posts. If you'd like to be a guest, please register to be a guest on the site, and check out the merch page. There's some really cool stuff if you're interested in representing the pod, along with some other cool travel items and apparel that I'm working on every day as well. Join me again next week for another great guest with more incredible stories. New episodes drop every Sunday just after midnight Eastern Time. Until then, thank you for being here and have a great day.